store, so it isn't King Street. It's a transit shelter. It's the parking lots that cause us some of the greatest issues that we have identified. We know where they are. I don't think it's any secret which parking lots we're talking about. It is definitely along Covert Street and Swain Street. So we're in and around the areas. I don't know how far along Chapel Street you're suggesting, but we are on Chapel Street. And I'm through the, we haven't even done the press announcement, so here it is.
I bring it up because we live between Walton and Henry, and now when I go outside in the morning and there's fresh snow on the ground, there's footsteps up to my car, checking whether my car is locked or not. This is a regular occurrence. It happened in the summer.
Yeah.
We were robbed in the summer from our car.
Okay.
And now we're concerned we're going to be heading back into spring, warmer weather, that there should be a presence on Chapel Street
Perfect.
as well.
So thank you for that. So what we will be doing is Enbridge Gas, or whatever it is, they did provide us with $7,500 towards e-bikes. I'm an ex-bike cop, so I'm having a hard time understanding why we need e-bikes, but nonetheless. So we will be deploying e-bikes, and we will be deploying those, so our officers have been out in segways. We know the community issues have shifted. So I would suggest in the directed patrols, which is the police lingo for where we sort of direct the officers through analytics where to be, we will increase our presence, and it will be on bike. The most effective way to manage the presence where you're discussing sort of is bike patrol. It is truly one of the most amazing enforcement tools existing. So you'll see some cruisers with bike racks on the back because it gives us an opportunity to do both. We are really innovative with our special constables. They are trained to be on bikes, so they have received a bike operators course. Our auxiliary on bikes as well.
Mark here.
Well, one is. So we're going to be increasing our uniform presence as well, and also throughout the evening. Recognizing that theft from autos is something that always has happened, it will always occur. I would like to say that theft fraud is the most underreported, but it's only 5% of fraud.
We've lived in our house for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's just in the last year or so that we've had problems.
So when I came in 2014, one of the biggest crime problems there were in the...
Doing it with an information transfer?
They are now.
They're telling you?
Now they are.
Dropping somebody here?
Now they are.
Because what I really love what you're doing here tonight, and I think it needs to happen holistically and regionally because we're just a bubble, push on the bubble and it
Pops
comes
over
out here. So when Peterborough cleared their tent city, we got a lot of influence.
I don't think we did. In fact, I had that conversation earlier. I think the people that we have locally here are mostly our local people. Many people that from the Peterborough tent city ended up going back to the greater Toronto area.
Yeah.
There was an expression of discontent, social discontent in that tent city, and that a lot of people, I should say, there were people in the tent city in Peterborough who actually had an address in Toronto, but they were making a social activist point.
Yeah.
So, to the point of, yes, when you push here, it pops there. I get it. So now, with the way we've altered our warming room at the station, is if another police service brings somebody, it's an emergent circumstance like I spoke about, and we're going to receive that person because we do care about human beings.
Yeah.
And in the morning, I expect that police service to be back, working with their community member, and ensuring they get effective care and follow-up. And we had a circumstance where somebody came from Port Hope. They followed it up, and it was simple as giving this person a train ticket. This problem resolved itself for $61 to get the person back to Kingston. I can give you another example where over the last week, the 17-year-old, over the last week, we've had a 17-year-old living in our lobby who's refusing service. There's tons of service available for this young lad, including a parent who lives just outside our jurisdiction. So today at 3 o'clock, he was met by Sergeant McDonald and was taken to the H court with rebound. And this person was given every opportunity for service that possibly exists for that person. And if that person refuses that service, we're going to bring him home. At 17 years old. If he chooses not to stay home, well, that's a 17-year-old's choice to make. But there's a prime example that that's not something that our warmer room is intended. There are lots of opportunities for that person. So that's kind of where we're trying to go. But I do want to speak to the level of crime versus the level of social disorder. Our level of social disorder is really high. Our level of crime isn't necessarily as high. In certain things, theft from cars is higher, but our robberies or violent crimes are really not that bad. So we use the term robbery. Somebody robbed my car, somebody robbed my house. By our definition, it's police talk. That's not a robbery by definition. A robbery by definition is, I want your phone and give me your phone. Right now, we're only in the theft. I'm gonna steal the phone, and she says no, and I push her down and grab her phone. Now it's a robbery. So it's a violent event with a theft component. That makes it robbery. We're used to it. We hear assault and battery. It's a real American term because we watch American TV, right? Watch Murdoch mysteries. It's more typical Commonwealth type language. Yeah, so I want to be careful with the language. Yes, our officers are definitely responding to more social disorder calls. And yes, we are doing a far better job at our crime arrests. Our annual report will show you clearance rates. It'll be my benchmark moving forward, and I expect my clearance rates to be higher. What that means is we're solving more crime. So, for instance, theft from autos are generally really low across the country, or low clearance. They're very hard to arrest, and we kind of get lucky when we arrest somebody. Whereas our robberies we had 7 robberies, and we solved them all. So we have a really high clearance rate there, 2 years ago. Our break and enters, we need to do some work on, and I know that. Our break and enters are, and somebody was talking to me about a print left at a break and enter.
I did. Sorry.
Thank you, there you are, sorry. So sometimes, like in a case like that where the house is broken into and a print is located, a fingerprint, sometimes it can take up to 2 years to solve that because we have to wait for that person to be caught, his prints to be taken and uploaded onto the system, and then we make the comparison. That wasn't your point. Your point was exactly what this lady had, is that you didn't receive any of the follow-up, and that's not right. But so sometimes.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Did you say 2 years ago you noticed that there were more crime or something? Did I catch you?
2 years ago, well,
Is that a
since
higher-
2 years, 2 years ago, our robberies. We had 7 robberies,
Yeah.
and that's terrible, and that gets me on McLean's. Don't get me started about McLean's. Trust me, I've lived 2 communities of this. But that made our crime severity index increase, which really means nothing. But our crime severity index went up, and because that crime, robbery, is bad, because that's personal affront, right? But our clearance rate was really good, and the one robbery was an individual strung out on drugs, went into the Max or the Circle and stole 2 lottery tickets. So that was the robbery, theft and violence, like I defined, and then he was arrested at the Henley Arcade, like within 5 minutes. But that's a robbery, so there's McLean's says there's a crime severity index problem. I don't think there is. Crime happens.
But it could take up to 2 years, you said.
Oh no, we just had one. What was the blood one we had? That was 5-6 years ago. That one they solved.
Yeah, easily 5-6 years.
So yeah, so there was a criminal event in town of 5 or 6 years ago where blood was left at the scene, and the officers did everything right and collected the blood, stored it with the Center of Forensic Sciences in the database. Between then and now, this person who did this was arrested somewhere else, and their DNA was collected as per the criminal code. A match was made. What happens then is we get a message from the Center of Forensic Sciences saying we have a potential hit, and then what we do is we do a confirmation process to confirm that this person is this person, do a DNA hit. Once we get the DNA hit, we can issue arrest warrants. And
So much. Last year we were plagued with a lot of things that happened that were very negative, and a lot of staff and developmentally disabled people were afraid to come to work. We had on average an incident which was violent and or repetitive.
Tell them to trespass that. That's the best.
Okay, was over once a week. In retrospect, you like figures, and I changed them because we've been open for 27 years. So in 27 years, in 26 years prior to last year, we banned 7 people. Last year, we banned 34 people in 1 year, which is an increase of over 19,000%. This is a workplace, and where we're trying to do good things in the community. And as far as all the stigmas and that have been, plaguing our community, Beyond the Blue Box actually was involved when Transition House was born. We provided every stitch of furniture they had, everything that they needed to provide a warm and safe place for homeless people to go. So Beyond the Blue Box is a pioneer as far as helping people. And I need to stress that because in order to protect people with developmental disabilities, You need to be strong and you need to stand up, and we have. And I want the community to know, and Jan, your friend, that we have taken training courses. We've been in touch with the Center for Occupational Health and Safety. We have reached out to the Ministry of Labor, and we have done everything that we can in our capacity to become a stronger organization and to protect anybody within the confines of our organization. I've met with the chief. We've discussed strategies, and I can honestly say that I am hopeful that the year will not be what it was last year.
Well, let me just cut you off. Two things. She's the poster child for my SEPTED program. So our officers, our volunteers, did a SEPTED audit on the Blue Box and
Yes.
helped you with some ideas about how to
Absolutely.
do some things. They got great CCTV cameras and they're sharing, and they communicate with us regularly. So with positive spirits like this and the community outpouring, the community support, and the community consultation committee that's going to be born out of this, which I think is pretty remarkable, I think we are going to have a definite better year. I really truly believe we're going to measure the impact. It's awesome. I'm going to have to get the board chair to buy me a bike for the chief's office so I can ride bike patrol again. It was a good way to start my career and kind of go that way. So, cut you off. I just want to appreciate. I learn every day, so I didn't know the amount of impact that the Blue Box had in my time in Coburg, and the work it does with community living and creating a real exciting life for people who without the Blue Box wouldn't have that opportunity. So credit. That's why you've been around for 27 years. Is because you just do great work, and we have to help with the impact, and so that you can have a better impact to the community. So I appreciate the calls. There's a great example of. If you don't think the chief's approachable, then you just need to get his email and his telephone number. And I do answer Saturday mornings and Saturday afternoons and type all types of day and night. And that's not BS. Like that's true. But 289-251-3476, print it. And I answer it. So I'm not hiding from anybody. I am your servant.
And thank you.